Was gripping from the moment we first heard it 4 years ago this month. Osama bin Laden had been killed by U.S. Navy SEALs who swept in under the cover of darkness and raided his hideout in Pakistan. Now, the details of how it all happened are being questioned by a distinguished journalist who says that much of what we've been told is simply not accurate. Now, that journalist is Seymour Hersh, and he presents an alternative version of what happened the night bin Laden was killed in an article for the London Review of Books, and he joins us now live from Washington. Seymour Hersh, thank you so much for joining us here on CNN International. I've seen your report online, but please walk our international audience through your report, the main points of it. How did the White House lie about the operation that killed bin Laden?
Well, I don't know when we say lie, I don't know if the president knows he's not telling the truth. He's just been given a briefing, and he's relying on other people's information. So I'm not calling the president anything. I'm just saying that the story that came out was not true. And simply the main facts are that we didn't do it by ourselves. We did it with the help of the Pakistani leadership. The general who led the army, a general named Kiani, and the general who led the intelligence service then, a general named Pasha, both ended up working with us to help get bin Laden. Otherwise, you have a sort of a strange story. Two groups of American SEALs come into a compound, 40 miles or so from Islamabad, in a country with which we're not at war, and go in and whack a guy, kill bin Laden, and no security, no cover, no air cover. They just went in by themselves. The story had problems from the very beginning. The Pakistanis made it possible. We worked with them. Our SEALs are great. They did a good job. The president didn't order the raid. He did say, let's do it. They killed him. After that, everything is sort of not true.
You report that there was no firefight at the compound, and the burial at sea, that never happened.
Well, what happened is, the way it was described is that the SEALs, in a memoir written by a man named Bissonnette, he writes that there was an intense firefight, and they killed some couriers that were allegedly there, and there was shooting back and forth. I'm sure bullets were fired because soldiers lay down ground fire when they come in to make sure, but there was no fire. The only victim was a woman shot in the leg, even perhaps by a spray bullet, a bullet that just got away from one of the soldiers. It was a walk-in. They landed. They went into that. They were walked in with the intelligence services of the Pakistanis helping us into bin Laden's prison, if you will. They went up some stairs. If you remember the story, we had to blow doors, steel doors. The steel doors were there because he was a prisoner. And we went in and shot him, period. End of story.
You're reporting that Pakistan's ISI, the intelligence service, knew as early as 2006 that bin Laden was in Abbottabad, Pakistan, and that the U.S. paid a reward to a former Pakistani intelligence officer to find him. He was kept a prisoner by Pakistan, as you said. If that's the case, why? Why did Pakistan keep him prisoner in that compound in Abbottabad?
Well, I really don't know every answer to that. I'll tell you some of the most obvious answers, one of which, of course, is the Saudis, as I write in the story, were very anxious that the Pakistanis not share him with us. The Saudis did not want an American intelligence team interviewing bin Laden to find out who gave him money back in 2001 at the time of 9/11, because I assume that, one could just assume that a lot of money was flowing all the time from various Saudi princes into bin Laden's pockets to underwrite what he was doing. So that's one obvious thing. The other one is, once you have him, you have leverage. If you're the Pakistani intelligence and military service, you have leverage over the Taliban, both in Afghanistan and Pakistan, who support bin Laden, and also the various jihadist groups in both countries. So you have leverage. You can say to these, and this is all of this I wrote, there's a lot of reasons to keep him there. There was a walk-in. By that I mean somebody from the Pakistani intelligence service did come in, did get a large chunk of that reward, and for the longest time, we were thinking of trying to do it on our own, but we realized the president was always asking questions, and we realized that we had no choice but to go to the Pakistanis and tell them, look, we know the game is up. You've got this guy hiding in plain sight right there, right in the middle of a resort town, basically, in the foothills outside of Islamabad, Pakistan's capital. And from there, we got cooperation totally.
Now, this is a startling report. It's a bombshell report. Seymour Hersh, what can you tell us about the source and why this is surfacing now?
Well, the story makes clear there is a primary person quoted by me, but you know, I've been in this business a long time. I've done many stories with the primary person, but I also know how to vet information. And the story makes clear that I was able to vet this information not only with Americans who are knowledgeable, who are still inside, so it's very dicey to talk about that, they're still in the government, but also inside Pakistan. And I do quote a Pakistani general named Durrani on the record, and this was after an exchange back and forth of phone conversations and many emails. Every word was said carefully and vetted by him, to the point that, of course, we knew. The former general of the head of the ISI said, we in the community understood there had been a walk-in, and we understood that our government was helping you do this. So I had a lot of backup information for what I wrote. It wasn't just a question of relying on one person, obviously.
And the White House, have you reached out to them, and what are they saying about your report?
No comment. They're giving guidance, apparently. I understand they are giving guidance that it's not true, but they're saying nothing on the record. They're giving background guidance. I don't know what it is, but they're saying nothing on the record, obviously, in hopes that by saying nothing, they can keep the story kept to a minimum.